It was down to 3 for Alex Bregman, but it wasn't down to 3 for very long because you could pick the Red Sox. We're going to get into what the Cubs' options are now that Bregman is off the table, what things look like in spring training and more. Thanks for hanging out with us on the Cubs baseball channel. Let's get this thing started on a little bit later start, but had a lot of news that came out late last night. So ruined the video I had. Let's go. All right, guys. By now, you know that Alex Bregman picked the Red Sox. It was down to 3 teams. I mean, and it was like the Astros were out, and that told us something, right? That the Astros weren't going to be in the mix for his services. And he's a guy that spent his entire career with the Astros, kind of the face of the Astros type guy. And then from that point on, you're wondering, okay, how are things going to unfold? And you knew with the Cubs that you were getting familiarity with teammates, right? Because Kyle Tucker and Ryan Presley were both there. You knew that there was a spot open, third base, so like slide right in there and play third. And you knew that the Cubs were going to give you a shorter term deal, but that opt-outs and money would be part of it, right? With the Red Sox, you knew that, hey, you might have to play second base. And who knows how that's all going to pan out, but he may have to go play second base. That where the Cubs and Wrigley Field could be a more difficult place for him to hit. Right-handers don't hit as many doubles, according to, Buster Olney's guy at ESPN and analytics guy. You hit a lot of doubles at Fenway, right? And with diminishing skills, still a war over 4, but diminishing skills for Bregman, playing in the same stop as guys like Wade Boggs, might be a better fit for him offensively, even though he doesn't have a position or he'd have to play second, right? And when it came down to it, $120 million for 3 years with opt-outs was right about what I thought. And reports are that maybe the Cubs are going to do the same thing with 4 years with opt-outs, same money, whatever. You take I mean, this is easy math. If that's the truth, of course you're going to take the shorter term, same money, because it's not the same money if you have to work an extra year to get it, right? At the end of the day, it didn't work out. And what does that mean for the Cubs? Well, I thought that this was a telling statement by Craig Counsell yesterday. No, we're not done. He's talking about free agency. I don't think you're ever considering yourself done building a roster, whether big or small moves. I don't think you should consider yourself done, especially on February 11th, right? Okay. And that was kind of preceding the, Alex Bregman picking a team. But it doesn't necessarily mean just that. Dylan Cease is a guy that I'm still thinking that the Cubs have a shot at getting. Padres want to trim that payroll. He's someone that you put him in the rotation in between Steele and Imanaga, and you're going to have a really good rotation. It's going to push everyone back. I wanted to talk a little bit about the Javier Assad, Colin Ray 5th starter battle. Well, that ends that, if you make that deal. And Assad right now dealing with a mild oblique strain. So even though it's mild, he's going to be out of action for a little bit. So right now, Ray's got that position, and we'll see what happens. But at the end of the day, the Padres made a move I want to talk about here in a second that could change the way that looks too, and make it much more manageable for them to contend and trade Dylan Cease and get him off the book. So we'll get into that. But let's talk some third base. And we're going right back to where we were in the first place, and that is Matt Shaw. Matt Shaw is the Cubs' best in-house option to play third base. And, they went out and they signed some guys that they can plug in there. But Matt Shaw, to me, is option number 1. Now, the second option, we kind of talked about this, earlier this week, was Justin Turner. the former Dodger, played for a bunch of different teams. But last year was with Seattle and Toronto. Diminishing returns offensively, can still do it. Defensively, not as good. But maybe he's a bridge guy. If you were going to go with Shaw at third base, it gives you someone that's got experience playing the position, has had success playing the position. And at 40 years old, he kind of has to know that, hey, the road is getting shorter. And what you'll get with some great players is that they appreciate kind of teaching the next guy how to do it. And that could be it with him. Hey, I'm going to play some here. I'm going to do my best, but I'm also going to show you how to do it. I don't know if that's the option, if that's the exact option that the Cubs want. But what I do think is that it is an option that is on the table right now because, obviously they're not going to have an all-star third baseman with Bregman off the table and, and options that aren't really there. Now, the other option that isn't an option is that the Red Sox were going to get a third baseman, right? Or were they really? Which is pretty interesting, right? The rumors were that the Red Sox and the Cardinals were talking about Nolan Arenado. Well, the Cubs and the Cardinals most likely aren't going to work a trade. I mean, it's just very unlikely that you're going to make a trade with your biggest rival. I mean, and some of you guys are going to be on here and go, yeah, we did that one time and we gave them Lou Brock. Yeah, great trade. Right. Don't trade much with the Cardinals, but you'd love to have Nolan Arenado if you won an all-star third baseman. They'd love to get rid of him. It's just I don't see it happening. Maybe if you did a 3-team swap, somehow, but not even a rumor about it, not even a rumbling about it, because I just don't think it's going to happen. But the Red Sox were talking about, even though they got Rafael Devers that plays third. Now they signed Alex Bregman that plays third, but they reportedly going to put him at second, which is so interesting to me. Padres signed Nick Pivetta, right? 4-year deal, got him from the Red Sox, starter, and a good starter, and a guy who turned down a qualifying offer to pitch with the Red Sox, and became a free agent. So he signs a 4-year deal with the Padres, and the first year the deal's like $4 million. Then it goes up to like $18 million, and then he's got an opt out or more money on the back end. It's a pretty good deal for the Padres because of one thing. Well, first, that payroll wise, they're not going to take that big of a hit this year. Secondly, though, they want to shed payroll. And they want to get rid of Dylan Cease or Michael King, but most likely Dylan Cease. You can do that now because you got Pivetta, and the Cubs, the Mets, Baltimore, other teams have been talking to the Padres about trading for the 1-year rental. Former Cubs minor leaguer and a star. And so this is what we're going to be watching now. Is this where the Cubs kind of change their viewpoint, right? Hey, we've been focusing on Bregman, didn't get him. Now let's go focus on Cease because that continues to go. And maybe there's some other options at third base that we haven't thought of right now that we'll be keeping an eye on. Or maybe there's some stuff that, that they're going to kind of relook at the whole third base situation. Or maybe it's Shaw, when Shaw goes to spring training and it has started and he plays that position well, they may feel comfortable. But they're not going to let a whole lot of things go to chance this year because the front office is on the hot seat. So anyway, the Pivetta signing by the Padres is something to keep an eye on for the Cubs because I think it opens the door for a Cease trade. Cubs obviously had a lot of money on the table for Bregman. They didn't get him, but you win with pitching and you win with defense. So if you add him, you put him up there with Shota Imanaga, Dylan Cease, and then Justin Steele, and then, Jameson Tyone. And then, that's that's a really formidable rotation, and then all the other guys you put in the back and you're like, hey, you guys figure it out. Anyway, like, subscribe, thumbs up. Thanks for hanging out. We will do it again, maybe later today if something breaks, maybe tomorrow, working on interviews with some people that you're going to want to hear from. So it's that time of year. And we'll do that as well. Thank you for being here. Like, subscribe, thumbs up, and go Cubs.